Hi guys, my name is Matthew, and I'd like to talk to you today about acquiring taste for whiskey and what does it really mean to have taste for whiskey. So many of you out there may be very interested in becoming very familiar with whiskey. You want to drink it and be able to, appreciate it. And I was just like that. Actually, I got into whiskey just, I would say 4 months ago. And, I had my doubts. I tried to find videos or even just simple text that would talk about how you actually acquire taste for whiskey. Unfortunately, I didn't find any videos like talking about it or anything that would explain what it really means to have taste for whiskey. But I had a sense that taste for whiskey is an acquired taste. And what it really means is that, you have to acquire it. So I started asking myself, how do you really do it? So when I bought my first bottle of whiskey, I believe that was Evan Williams. And one day I sat down and, tried to appreciate it, drinking it neat. Well, the experience was rough. I mean, I really wanted to convince myself that, I enjoy this flavor and everything, but it wasn't really there. And some of you may be experiencing exactly the same thing. You perceive whiskey to be an elegant drink, something that people appreciate, enjoy, and everything, but your personal experience is not exactly like you would would imagine it, right? So how do you acquire taste for whiskey? And the simple really answer is just by drinking it. But this is really not completing the full picture. With whiskey, I believe it really is about, somebody or yourself really has to introduce you to whiskey proper. And what do I mean by that? It means that if you want to become, a whiskey drinker that really is able to appreciate the flavor and everything that is in there, well, you need to do it, you need to follow some guidelines. And don't get me wrong, there's no right way of drinking whiskey. Drinking whiskey, the best way to drink whiskey is the way that you like and you enjoy. But, if you want to get there, there are simple steps that you might want to follow to actually acquire taste for whiskey. And, eventually you will become a person that, feels that I can drink any whiskey and I will be able to distinguish the flavors. So the first thing you would probably want to do is get a proper whiskey glass like this one, which is called the Glencairn. And it really is, in a whiskey society, considered to be one of the best whiskey glasses you can find, and you can easily get it on Amazon. Why do you want a glass like this? Well, because it is designed in such a way so that you can experience the smell and the flavor of whiskey the best possible way. So start with that. But what do you do next? Well, it's also really simple. What I did, along the way, for the first 2 weeks of drinking whiskey, I had my doubts. I bought Evan Williams. I think my next purchase was Monkey Shoulder. And, with my first sip of either one, I wasn't sure if I liked it, And the reason is because most of us are not used to drinking hard liquor on a regular basis. Hard liquor has a lot of alcohol, meaning that when you drink it, you will experience alcohol burn. And this is this unpleasant part of drinking any hard liquor. However, there is a way of mitigating that. And that is actually drinking more, but actually keeping the drink in your mouth for several seconds. So whenever you drink whiskey, first of all, don't take big sips. The very simple rule of thumb is, take a sip as if that was your hot coffee and you can't really take a big sip. So you take just this, just a right amount, which will not, dominate your taste buds, and you will feel that you can manage it. And when you keep it in your mouth, it will start mixing with your saliva, which also will take, away some of that alcohol burn that you're experiencing initially. And honestly, the goal is, to accustom your taste buds to the alcohol burn, so that you really no longer experience it, and there's only flavor left there. So get yourself a whiskey glass, then pour yourself, not too much. Actually, the Glencairn glass is really cool in a sense that you know that you poured enough when it reaches about this level, and that should give you, if you take the sips that I recommended you, probably like five, maybe 6 sips. And honestly, that will be enough. And with every sip, you want to keep it in your mouth for at least 5 seconds. Probably at the beginning, I remember from my experience, 5 seconds was exactly what I was able to do. 10 seconds, the burn was overwhelming. However, as you drink your way to acquiring taste for whiskey, you will get there, and you will feel that you can keep it in your mouth for much longer. Just think about it. Just when you have a mouthwash, it's full of alcohol typically, and it burns your mouth, right? But you can keep it for a while, and this is the same for whiskey. You want to keep it in your mouth, and if the alcohol burn is too overwhelming, first of all, do not move the liquid inside your mouth. Of course, eventually you will be able to do it, and you will want to do it to actually taste the flavor. But initially, take little steps, right? Whenever it overwhelms you, swallow it. But honestly, you will see the difference, that instead of swallowing it immediately, the alcohol will become much easier to take in, because it mixes with saliva, and some of that initial alcohol burn is already gone. So when you swallow it, you will not experience it. And honestly, many of you are probably wondering, okay, how much time does it take to acquire a taste for whiskey? And from my personal experience, I would say it's about 2-3 weeks when you actually start experiencing the flavor of whiskey in such a way that you feel like, oh, this is enjoyable. But I would also like to address my second question, which is, what does it really mean to have taste for whiskey, right? And this is very, very interesting, And I'm of course speaking from my personal experience, and okay, so what does it mean to acquire taste for whiskey? I could not find an answer to this question online, and I was a little bit stuck, because for the first week I did not really feel the difference. Like, I wasn't really sure if I like whiskey, and I asked myself, like, oh my god, maybe there is a problem with me, right? It's because some people can drink it and enjoy it and so on, but it's not there for me. But I got there. I kept trying. I kept drinking on a regular basis, pretty much every day, but really small amounts. I would say, you could compare it to like 2 shots, in the evening. And I slowly got there. And what it really meant for me, and what does it really mean to have taste for whiskey? And that you've acquired taste for whiskey when you drink whiskey like Monkey Shoulder, which I recommend to every beginner. You think that, oh my god, this Monkey Shoulder is really sweet. What's wrong with this whiskey? It's so sweet. And this is really funny experience, and this is what it really means to have taste for whiskey. You start really tasting it like as if that was it. Maybe not necessarily candy, but you can taste that, oh wow, this whiskey, I was told that this whiskey is mild and really nice, and I feel that it's really sweet, but there's no sugar in it. So, having taste for whiskey really means being able to tell the difference between whiskey that is, harsh, smoky, and heavy from a whiskey that is certainly sweet and fruity. And you get there. You get there through drinking regularly, properly, which means you want to get a proper glass, and you want, each time you take a sip, really small sip, as I said before, you want to keep it in your mouth for at least 5 seconds. I would say ideally 10 seconds. I also recommend you looking up Richard Patterson. He's a master blender at Dalmore Whiskey, incredible whiskey. And see his videos, because he is just an incredible person within the industry. He spent 50 years working and creating whiskey. He knows his stuff, and his simple rule of thumb for whiskeys that have age statements is that you want to keep it in your mouth for at least that many seconds as many years that whiskey was aged. And if you have 12-year-old whiskey, keep it in your mouth for at least 12 seconds to appreciate and get the flavor of it. But also a simple rule of thumb for like blended whiskeys and whiskey in general, like bourbons, you want to keep it in your mouth for between, I would say 7-10 seconds would be ideal, sometimes even longer. Once you really get that taste for whiskey, you will know what you really enjoy. And the goal of getting into whiskey really is being able to enjoy whiskey at its finest. I hope that helps you guys that are interested in whiskey, want to really get into whiskey but weren't really sure if you had the taste for it, or you actually were truly enjoying it. But now you know that this is actually a process that anybody can achieve. And good luck with that, and let me know if you wanted to hear a little bit more about whiskey from me. See you guys next time.